Hello again and welcome to Danwhitebooks, the book review channel where we add insights into the worlds of literature for both those who do read and those who don't. Today's book review is on a popular novel set at a time not long after the 9/11 attacks shook American culture. We follow the touching and intricate story of a boy in New York who longs for his father after his sudden disappearance. Join me today as we review Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. I stumbled upon Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close recently while browsing a Goodreads list of top books to read before you die. Over the years, it's become something of an iconic work, amassing thousands of reviews online. I had heard about a film adaptation starring Tom Hanks, but I never got around to watching it. So going into this book, I knew very little about the plot, just a few brief snippets about the timeline. I was curious and intrigued. This is the first book I've read by author Jonathan Safran Foer, and I'm sure it will not be the last. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close tells the story of a young boy named Oscar Schell living in New York with his mother Linda and his grandmother. It is an emotive work that touches upon many characters, some fleeting, some mysterious, and others deeply meaningful. Set in 2003, the book focuses on the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks and the impact they had not just on Oscar but also on the people of America and in particular in New York. On September 11th, 2001, Oscar's father Thomas leaves for work and never returns. The rift his disappearance causes within the family is immense, each suffering in their own way. Oscar, who discovers a key in a smashed vase his father had purchased not long before his death, embarks on a journey in search of meaning. Alongside the key is a piece of paper with the word black written on it. Refusing to let go of his father, Oscar decides to track down every person with the surname Black in New York, embarking on a quest to solve the mystery that consumes him. And thus begins a unique tale with more twists and turns than you might expect. Alongside Oscar's quest, you are led on a secondary story that requires some guesswork to piece it together. As you continue to read, the fragments start to slot into place, and you uncover not just Oscar's journey, but also the broken heart of a man who has long lost his son. Author Jonathan Safran Foer reveals through this book the impact of tragedy and the lasting damage caused by acts of war, focusing on how a single brutal moment can leave scars on individuals that last a lifetime. Oscar's desperate attempt to find meaning in something so benign highlights his deep desire to keep his father close. The relentless search to figure out who left the note with the word black along with the key keeps his father's memory alive and creates a bond, even if only fleeting. Through the mystery of this note, Oscar finds something greater than his sadness. He finds a purpose deeply tied to his father, a person who he of course deeply misses. There are two major tragedies that take place in this book. The first, as I've mentioned, is the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The second, however, takes place long before, during World War II, the bombing of Dresden, for which many are familiar with. Both of these events highlight the brutality of war. The resulting aftermath reveals how such moments can rupture the lives of everyday people. The darkest of realities step into the forefront, and to navigate such mystery, people change. Whole lives are ripped apart and spun on a damning dime. The result is a life in search of meaning and a defiance against suffering, but nothing is ever as it was. The book also focuses heavily on resilience and defiance in the face of such tragedy. Oscar, despite his young age, is thrust into the harsh realities of life. He loses his father, a loss most people do not face until much later. To cope, he keeps a journal to document his feelings. Even as the world continues to move forward and even as his mother appears to move on, Oscar stands defiant, refusing to let go of his grief or the memory of his father. Oscar's struggle with grief is portrayed in a deeply moving manner. At times he seems fine, but he's always burdened by the reality of his present. He returns home, he cries, he bruises himself, and most tragically of all, he wears heavy boots. This is a phrase Oscar continually uses, and it truly pulls at your heart. Oscar experiences grief, then anger, and then frustration at how life keeps moving on. I'm sure we've all faced such distress at some point, to feel utterly distraught only to watch the world go on and on. Life is indifferent, yet you are not. And I suppose that right there is why this is such a good book. I continually say that great writers can evoke empathy, and no clearer is that apparent here. When grief grips a hold of us, it can seem unfair and unjust. When life throws a terrible circumstance our way, we can close up and disappear. It is often in these moments that we detract from living, but when we do emerge, we show such strength and determination to move forward. And at its heart, extremely loud and incredibly close, is a book that captures the sudden shift in reality when tragedy strikes. The fact that author Jonathan Safran Foer portrays this mainly for a child adds to the intensity. If we as adults struggle with the turbulence of life, how is a child to fare with the loss of his father? The emotion you feel within this book is not trauma for the sake of trauma. It is instead a mirrored take on the realities of life, and in that regard, it portrays a realistic depiction of what it is to be human. When the bell jar descends, as a famous author once said, we can feel hopeless, yet it is in our fight to not feel so alone that we often find the greatest of tales. Oscar is only a boy, yet his struggles reveal something we can all relate to: the desire to never let go. My friends, thank you very much for watching another book review here today. Please do see my links below for Goodreads, where you can see what I'll be reading next. I haven't yet decided what book I am reading next, to be honest, so stay tuned for that one. And again, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you here again soon. Bye-bye.